This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of This Week in the NFL. I'm your co-host, the Cowboy. 2 weeks in a row here. We're on a good run again, with a little hiatus, but we're back stronger than ever. Joined by the star of the show, really, the man with the knowledge, the man with the plan, our master prognosticator, John D'Amato. John, what's up, man?
Happy Thanksgiving, Raj. Hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. It's great. We're cracking 2 weeks in a row, and no guarantees, but we're gonna try our best to get one in every week for the home stretch here. What
Absolutely.
do we got? 5 more weeks. Yeah, 5 more weeks. We could do it. Plus playoffs, we could do it.
I think we can, John. I think we can. It's been a good run. Got a great week coming up. Had a heck of a week 12 we can talk about, and let's get ready to go. The six listeners provided some good feedback last week. Everyone was happy we're back. And our main guy, the Bears, the Bears won again Thanksgiving. Good job, Tim. 8-3. Who would have thunk it?
Well, hopefully, my Giants don't pull an upset, and then he won't get mad, and he'll stop listening. But I think he should be safe to. The Giants will probably fall into place and give him a good game for 2.5 quarters, and then bitch up at the end and give your Bears another win. But they pulled through Thanksgiving. As was written in the Wednesday AM quarterback, it came down to the quarterbacks, and you think Detroit would be in good shape at home with their $27 million man playing against a backup QB who hasn't started since 2014. And in the battle of the quarterbacks, it came down to one guy managed the game and one guy managed to fuck up the game.
It's a good point. That's a good point. And, I mean, that's the difference between a winning team and a losing team, right? You know, on paper, those teams are not all that dissimilar. But the Bears pull out a win. That game was right there for the Lions, as a number of them have been this year. And to your point, John, Stafford kind of gave it away. And the Bears' defense is very good. They played well, but kind of went the way we thought it would. Tough to see the Lions winning that one, and on the road again, and possibly with Chase Daniel at quarterback again, you would think the Giants have a chance. But after that performance against the Eagles, John, I've lost all faith. What little faith I had is gone.
I didn't have much anyway, but yeah, the when you're playing against an Eagle secondary, there were a couple guys in there that they were flipping cheesesteaks 2 weeks earlier, and now they're on the field in the starting lineup, and the Giants couldn't even take advantage. The Eagles just got such a hex over them, 17 out of the last 21. They pretty much did everything in the first half to give the Giants a nice lead, and when you're 3-8, there's 38 things that go wrong each game. People want to just point to not giving Barkley the ball or the quarterback or the coach, but there's when you're 3-8, there's too many things to go into, and we only got an hour. So
very curious, very curious play calling on offense. I mean, Barkley was going through them like a hot knife through butter, and then you think when you get the big lead, that's when you really want to pound the back, right? And it's like they just stopped giving him the ball, and just overall, just ugly performance.
It wasn't as blatant. There was just one blatant 3-and-out where just drop back. Eli dropped back 2 passes, and then the usual Giants third down sack. That was the blatant one of the second half. That was just like, oh god, that's their season in a nutshell.
Yeah, and with that, with the Eagles win and with the Cowboys beating the Redskins, all of a sudden the Eagles, who we left for dead, are now 1 game back.
I would still they got a pulse, but looking at their schedule, unless they could somehow sweep the Redskins, they got 2 against the Redskins. Unless they somehow sweep, that's going to be their only hope. But I project them at a 7-9 down the stretch.
I'm with you, John. I think that's about the least impressive win I've ever seen, honestly. I mean, the Giants completely outplayed them. It was in Philly. And, I mean, the Giants really gave the game away more than Philly winning it.
Yeah, well, Philly got back to they forgot about running the ball. I've been trying to say, you guys kind of scoffed at me, but I'm trying to say, like Clement and
Josh
Adams, are adequate. Maybe not so much adequate. It's because their line is one of the few things that hasn't fallen apart. The offensive line is still solid. They give Wentz time, but Peterson for some reason totally ignored running the ball. Clement is solid. I think he just had a couple fumbles that got him on the bench. But I mean, every time I see him versus the Giants, he looks like fucking Barry Sanders.
Adams is the guy.
You at least got to mix it up.
The bell cow now. I mean, he got 22 carries this week. They've been upping his workload every week. I've an undrafted rookie, I believe, out of Notre Dame, and he is giving them a running game. They have a huge game this week, Monday night, Washington at Philadelphia. For Philly to have any chance to win the division, they have to win this game. Do you agree there?
Oh yes, definitely, and even I predict they will, and they're still not going to make it. They're gonna bite it in a few games after. But I like them barely over Washington. It's gonna be another squeaker. These NFC East games. I was ready to crown Washington midway through the third quarter. They took a nice lead. They got McCoy's looking okay. He's using this guy Trey Quinn makes some nice punt returns and makes a nice TD catch. And it looked like they were going to pull the upset. And I was gonna lead with my Wednesday AM QB about how the Redskins just tough on defense. And then all of a sudden Dallas just finds Amari Cooper.
Cooper. What a game!
They attacked the weakness, which was Dunbar of Washington. They went away from Swearinger and Norman, and they attacked the weakness. And all of a sudden things change, and Washington's back in the doldrums. McCoy was asked to do a little too much, a little rusty after 4 years, and he couldn't pull out any heroic passes.
Yeah, he can't turn the ball over like that, and clearly can't give up. You know, Dallas isn't really a big play offense. It's not usually their thing, right? And to give up 2 monster touchdowns to Cooper sealed the Redskins' fate. I want to talk about the Cowboys. So we're recording here Wednesday night, about 7 o'clock. Big game tomorrow for the Cowboys. Best team in football, on paper, probably one of the couple of best teams in football. New Orleans coming to Dallas. New Orleans hot like a firecracker on the 4th of July. Dallas, over the last few weeks, has looked like the Dallas team of 2 years ago, at least to me, where defense is playing good, they're controlling the ball, fully healthy on offense, Zeke's going. I like the Cowboys in this one. I'm just going to come out and say it. I like the Cowboys in this one. I think in Dallas, I think they're the perfect kind of team to beat this Saints team. The perfect kind of team. They're going to keep that high-powered offense off the field. They're going to control the clock, and they're going to make one extra play at home. What say you, John? Am I nuts?
Come on, man! You stole my big. I want to be the I told you so and I called it guy. I got Dallas too. I like how their defense is rolling.
Do you really?
Also, I just think the Saints aren't going to go 15-1, and especially with the Panthers falling off, that the Saints can pretty much, they're not going to be playing with that sense of urgency. They could fall off on one, because I don't think they're gonna fall off. They got the Panthers. They may be looking ahead to the Panthers games coming up, and I like the way Dallas's defense is playing, and also Ezekiel Elliott can run some of that clock and keep the ball away from
exactly.
So yeah,
we're in the same boat. I mean, we maybe should have a third guy on the show or something, because it's not every day that both guys are gonna, pick the 8.5 point underdog to beat the 11-1
But other than that Tennessee game, Dallas has really smoked people at home. They've really been dominant at home. That's another thing I like. But I've been harping on it all year. I really like how their defense plays, their linebackers. There's a couple weaknesses in the secondary which would worry me. With Michael Thomas might have a big game. Their secondary can be exposed, but their linebackers, Smith and Van Der Esch,
all over the place.
Just playmakers, yeah. I love them.
And you're not going to shut the Saints down completely. So Dallas is going to have to score some points. But the Cooper for all his warts, he's not a perfect player by any means. But he really has been the perfect player for that offense. Since he's come, I think teams were just putting 8, 9, 10 guys in the box to stop Zeke because there was zero threat on the outside. And just Cooper providing that threat has opened up the whole offense. Dak's making plays, Zeke has room to run, and now with what happened last week with Cooper going completely crazy like that, you think that's going to I think it's going to open up the offense even more because you have to respect him even more now. So, I feel like they got off to not a very good start this year, but they've impressed me. They've really turned it around, and I think they're dangerous. And it's kind of Dallas really needs the game too because you lose, Philly wins. You got 3 teams sitting at 6-6, right, in the NFC East, at least.
Yeah.
And it's just it's just kind of a crapshoot to the finish. But with the win, Dallas can sort of start separating themselves. Only team in the division with a positive point differential on the season, Dallas Cowboys, plus 21.
Yeah, but let's not downgrade New Orleans. It would still be a huge upset.
Big upset. New Orleans is playing the best football in the NFL because their defense has played really well lately. And coupled with that offense, it's a real tough out. But the whole Thursday thing, I think, works in Dallas's favor because they played, both these teams played on Thanksgiving. But I think, kind of that Thursday game can be a little bit of a slog sometimes. I think.
Yeah,
I'm grasping at straws. I can't believe you had the same pick as me. I'm still dumbfounded.
I'm going to be rooting for Dallas, so our picks look good, but also I won't be too disappointed because if they lose and Philly wins, they'll both be 6-6, which sets up a nice Sunday 4:25 the following Sunday at Dallas. A nice Philly Dallas old school NFC East slog. Even though Philly's nowhere close to 100%, and neither of these teams are, but it would still, even at 6-6, just for the division, it would still be an intense game at Dallas.
Absolutely. So I think that's a record. That's 12 minutes we've spent on the NFC East. 12 minutes on the NFC East. What do you think?
Well, they're not very good, but they're entertaining. There's always something to talk about.
It's certainly close.
And just think of where Dallas was after that Tennessee loss. Everybody's talking about is Garrett going to make the season? Is Garrett going to get fired? And everybody's cracking on and saying, no, they made a shitty trade with that giving up their first rounder for Amari Cooper, and then all of a sudden everything's changes. Now you see they're back to 15 friggin' camera shots of Jerry Jones jerking off in the booth after every nice play. So everything's all good in Big D land. Congratulations, Cowboy fans. Maybe you won your 3rd playoff game in the last 25 years or whatever the fuck it was since Jimmy Johnson told you guys bye, Felicia.
Got a little backhanded compliments from my co-host.
I got to throw
he had to throw a little shade after picking the Cowboys.
Hey, I've been praising their defense all year. You could go back to the preview.
Oh, absolutely. So next team I want to talk about is sort of a same state, similar kind of story in the AFC. Started out a little slow, but have really come on, and I think as things get closer, they look like they might be the biggest threat to the Chiefs' Super Bowl run. That's the Houston Texans. 8-game winning streak, dismantled the Titans on Monday Night Football. Used Deshaun Watson played one of the best games he's played as a pro, and used the new toy. Demaryius Thomas used him and caught a couple of touchdown passes. The defense is playing well. Lamar Miller, for whatever reason, I thought there was a big fork sticking out of his back at the beginning of the year, but he looks great. And they're a solid squad. They're a solid squad. Do you think they're more than that?
Yes, Watt just seems to get healthier every week, and Clowney and Merciless, their defensive line. They're always a threat. When you could get a rush from your defensive line, when you got the three beasts like that could get to the quarterback at any time without a blitz that could get to him in the fourth quarter in a close game, they're dangerous. And you just think back at a tale of two seasons. They're 0-3. And you remember that fourth game was the one at the Colts where Reich, the coach, decided to go for that fourth down and pretty much gifted them a win. They were just they were a CH from being 0-4 and being done.
What the worst, what should have happened, right? That would have been a tie if the Colts didn't go for it, right?
Yeah,
it would have been
3-1, right?
Yeah.
That's another coach that was on death row, and O'Brien, and just mercurial. Now he's in the catbird seat with the pretty much easy schedule the rest of the way. The division is pretty much theirs. I don't see them falling apart at all. I see Cleveland, Indy, Jacksonville, and the road games are at Jets and at Philly, which are winnable. So you figure at least a 3-2. They're looking good at 11-5. And who knows if they go 4-1 or continue running the table, they may even be looking at a first round bye. And it's the first team in history to lose the first three and then go on a 8 burger.
Yeah, and very good chance to make it 9 with Cleveland coming to Houston this week. Cleveland's looked a lot better. So no big surprise, I guess, since Hugh hit the road. Cleveland's improved, and Cincinnati can't win a game now that they've brought him in. But
yeah, it's interesting. What do you think you're going to do there? What if say Cleveland wins like 4 out of the last 5? Do you think Williams has a shot to stay, or are they going to be looking for a more big time coach, especially a more offensive minded coach to kind of continue to mold Baker?
I think the only scenario where he stays is if they somehow make the playoffs, which I don't think is going to happen.
It's not far fetched. That second wild card is wide open. So
it's possible. If he takes him to the playoffs, I think they're almost obligated, right, to give him another, give him the reins for one season. But I think, to your point, they'll look for, like everybody now, looking for the Matt Nagy, Sean McVay type.
Yep.
Josh McDaniels, his name's been battered around, so maybe.
Or his old college coach, Lincoln Riley, is going to be hot. D. Filippo, we're hearing all the big names.
Right. And, you got one guy who's, was always brought up as a big name. He's not in the booth anymore because he's in Oakland, so Cleveland doesn't have to worry about Johnny Boy.
Will this be the year that McDaniel finally leaves the house, or is he going to change his mind again?
I don't know. I think it really depends on Belichick. Obviously, right? McDaniel's end game is to eventually coach the Patriots, but if it looks like Bill's going to stick around another 3-4 years, I think McDaniels will go. I think if McDaniels had it to do over, he'd be coaching the Colts right now. If he knew that Luck was going to come back and be 100%, that's kind of a golden opportunity missed by him, really.
Yeah, they finally got their offensive line together. They're keeping Luck clean. But also there were reports, getting back to Cleveland, there were reports that that'll be the one job that Bruce Arians would come out for, is Cleveland.
Right. He's older, but a brilliant offensive mind. But yeah, it's good to see the Browns playing well. They Is it Jimmy Haslam's the owner? Has to feel kind of stupid, right? That he kept Hugh around that long, and now the team just boom.
Well, speaking of stupid, who's the Cincinnati? Who's going to be the successor to Marvin Lewis? That's mind-boggling.
I don't know. He's saying Hugh, right?
Yeah, that's. I mean, we don't have. It's too bad we don't have a Bengals fan in our little nation there, because I used to work with a guy who was a Bengals fan, and that poor guy suffered. It's just that's a suffering franchise. It'd be interesting to hear like what the fans what are going through their minds as they see the.
Strangely enough, I know a number of Bengals fans due to my travels have taken me out to Cincinnati. Probably 10, 11 times. So. Yeah, it's a tortured fan base, very much just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. Which I can relate to as like kind of like the way the Red Sox used to be, where even when things were positive, the Bengals fans can always find the negative in them, and they're never comfortable. Like, for that playoff game, for example, with the two personal fouls to give Pittsburgh the game. That's the kind of thing that happens to the poor Bengals.
Sure. Well, eons ago, the senior could tell you there was a time where the Patriots were almost ready to leave New England.
I remember that.
They were this close to leaving New England.
Yep, Victor Kayam, was the owner at the time he was going to take him. Was it St. Louis? I think it was St. Louis.
Yeah.
Mistaken. But Mr. Kraft came in, saved the day, and created the greatest dynasty in the history of sports. At least the NFL.
Got to build the statue. Who gets the statue first outside Gillette? Bill, Tom, or Mr. Kraft?
I think it's Tom.
Yeah.
Right. You want to attract free agents, you don't put the owner out there. That's just me. But yeah, so the Houston and Indy, another team that we were low on. I think everybody was low on. And I do remember saying that if Luck is himself, that he's good enough by himself to make them a contending team. He had done it before. And you couple that with their offensive line, which all of a sudden they drafted Nelson from Notre Dame. And all of a sudden, their offensive line's like one of the best offensive lines in football. Luck got sacked for the first time in, what was it, like 7 or 8 weeks last week? I mean, they look like a playoff team to me in the AFC.
Yeah, and he overcome that. There was a sequence there where he threw like 2 picks in a row. He threw a couple bad picks, and then they overcame that. He's got Reich has been a godsend for that team. Even if they finish out at 8-8, they got big things coming. They got a couple playmakers on defense. The sky's looking up for them. Actually, that whole division is leaving. Jacksonville and Tennessee are kind of down, but Indy and the Texans are very optimistic there. The only thing Reich is a little too cute with the Philly play. Luck,
he's going to get him killed.
I said a bad prediction, because a lot of other teams are trying to do that. I said one day, I hope it doesn't happen to anybody's team out there, but one day a quarterback's going to dislocate his shoulder or something, be out for the year because a coach getting fancy trying to use their quarterback as a receiver. And after that day, then that nonsense will stop, man.
I mean, Luck, I don't know if you saw the play where they threw to him on 3rd down. Brissett came in at quarterback, and Luck went out wide.
Yeah, no, I saw it.
I mean, he took a massive hit, a big hit. And, you don't want to risk the franchise for those 3 yards. But they've won 5 games in a row. And now at Jacksonville this week, a team that's in complete shambles. Cody Kessler is going to be starting there. Jalen Ramsey's probably not going to play. Not that it would really matter if he did. They're the old Jaguars again. They're terrible. They beat the Patriots, and then I don't think they're ever going to win another game. The Colts should win that game on the road. And then that sets up a huge showdown with Houston in Houston, Week 14. So, couple of the hottest teams in the league in the division. And I think for most people, probably the two teams, definitely the Colts, but to some extent the Texans as well, maybe not the teams you would expect to be on top of that division.
Yeah, the only thing, the Colts got these 3 division games. They're all on the road, and the division games on the road, that's a tough ask. Even after as bad as Jacksonville is, that's a tough ask to sweep all 3 of them. And then even at home versus Dallas is going to be a tough one too. So they still got I say about a 9-7. I don't think they'll be able to catch the Texans for the playoffs and also for the division. And also 9-7 might leave them short on a wild card, but still a lot of optimism there in Indy.
9-7, a heck of an accomplishment after starting 1-5.
Yep.
Right? And I mean, this game this week is a must win for them. They have to beat this depleted Jacksonville team. Jacksonville's going to come into that game. No Fournette. Fournette got suspended. Is going to come into that game just looking to roll over and die. I mean, that's really kind of the way that team is. That if you hit them in the mouth now, they're done. Tough year for them. You put the stink on them, boy. Whew.
Yeah, thank you.
Have we ever had a Super Bowl pick preseason get the number 1 pick in the draft? Because that's
thanks, Roger. Twist the knife a little further. Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. It's all love. I don't want people thinking we agree too much, so I got to bust your chops a little bit.
That's all right. I'll remind them every week. And also in the NFC, I picked Atlanta too, and they don't have 3 wins; they have 4.
At least they have a pulse. I mean, at least they're in games. They've had some injuries on defense. Jacksonville is just it's the whole team, right? It's the coaches, the terribly coached. They have they've given away games just by running the ball into the line. They want to trust this great defense that isn't stopping anybody. Terrible quarterback, undisciplined, big talkers. Yeah, I can't stand them. John. I'm happy they're terrible.
I'm not. Mr. Coughlin, the journal, shouldn't be going out like this. I feel bad.
That's true. I mean, it must be killing him. I mean, he's known as like this big taskmaster, right? And they're one of the more undisciplined teams in the league.
Yeah, he doesn't talk much, but he had some pointed statements, which might mean he might be looking for another lieutenant next year. We'll see, because him and Marone are tight, but when something like this happens, you gotta.
Okay, you almost.
He doesn't want to go out like that. Yeah, I got a lot of love. When a coach brings you 2 rings, you gotta. You're loyal to him for life. So I hope they could turn it around next year.
All right, next team I want to talk about, another team back from the dead. Sitting a couple weeks ago, they're sitting at 3-6, heading to San Diego for a sure loss, followed up with a red-hot Pittsburgh team coming to town. 3-8, right? Automatic 3-8. And what do the Denver Broncos do? They win both games. Their schedule really opens up. Their next 4 games are Cincy, San Francisco, the Browns, and the Raiders. 3 of those are on the road. The Browns is the toughest game. That's the one they have at home. What do you think here? You think it's smoke and mirrors? You think it's this defense finally playing up to their talent level? Keenum not turning the ball over. The emergence of Phillip Lindsay. Neither game was all that impressive or fun to watch. I mean, they gave up 500 and something yards, right, to Pittsburgh, but they got those W's. Those are 2 big wins.
Yeah, their defense, of course, is solid with Von Miller, but a lot of guys shit on Keenum. He's just got that something. I mean, he's not very talented, doesn't have a strong arm. He throws some bad picks, but in a close game, a lot of times he's just got the balls. He makes those plays, those winning plays in the fourth quarter. He's just got that little something that you saw last year with that. It was the miracle in with Minnesota. I just really like him. He's scrappy. He's not the most talented guy, and sometimes he just has some ugly games where he looks like the worst quarterback in the world. And unfortunately, one of those games was last year in a championship game. But I've seen more times than not in close games, he's got that little extra that makes the winning plays.
Yeah, I mean, undrafted free agent, not a big arm, so he's going to look bad sometimes. But you can't argue with the results. The last 2 weeks, they go to Cincy without Dalton. I mean, Dalton's done for the year, so with Jeff Driscoll playing quarterback, I mean, that should be a win, right? I know on the road, you never know. And Denver, just as they beat anybody, they can lose to anybody too. But Cincinnati looks like a team that's got the white flag up.
Yeah, you can't ask for 3 easier road games, and at Cincy, at San Fran, and at Oakland, and home to Cleveland and the Chargers. But I just think they're not great enough where they're going to run it. I see a 9-7, which probably might get them a little short of the wild card.
Do you think they need to make the playoffs to save Joseph's job, or do you think 9-7 with a strong finish will be good enough?
Yeah, if they fall short at 9-7, but that's a big difference. 7-9, 8-8, they might make a move there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just wanted to bring them up because I was impressed with those two performances. Kind of a bad. I mean, we had said it was a bad loss for the Chargers. Pittsburgh's not the same team on the road. They never have been. Ben's not the same on the road, but I mean, they outplayed the Broncos in this game, and just stupid, ridiculous turnovers. Just kind of one of those Steelers games that reminds you why they tend to fall short when it matters most.
Yeah, on the road. Yeah, you thought they were going to tie that pick at the end. That's Ben for you. He's you roll the dice, and sometimes you get craps, man.
What do you think of Ben kind of calling out some of his players in the media after? That's kind of par for the course with the Steelers, am I right?
Yeah, but they usually shake it off. It's not something that destroys their play on the field. You never see them quit or argue on the field. There's a lot of nonsense. Their nonsense is in the locker room, sure, but you never see it once the anthem is sung. Tomlin's boys are ready.
They usually are. I mean, they have had to deal with enough BS that they're used to it. So that's one of the games of the week this week. The Chargers righted the ship last week, throttling the helpless Arizona Cardinals. They're going to Pittsburgh on Sunday night in what looks on paper to be a ridiculous shootout, right? Couple of real high-powered offenses. I don't see either team really being able to stop the other team. The Chargers not having Melvin Gordon hurts them, but they got Joey Bosa back. He had a sack this last week, so what do you think? How do you see this one going?
Yeah, Gordon got hurt when they were already up by 20 versus the Niners?
Cardinals.
The Cardinals, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Gordon was he was questionable coming into the game, and apparently had kind of talked his way into playing, and this is maybe why they should have sat him. It's a game. They would have won that game with me playing running back.
Definitely, yeah. even though Ekeler is
he's good, but
is out of
You're coming
it would be nice to have both of them there versus the Steelers.
The end of the season, their end of season schedule is brutal. At Pittsburgh, home for Cincinnati. At Kansas City, home for the Ravens. At Denver. I mean,
they're lucky. They're lucky they got a 2-game lead on that wild card because they're going to need it. They're going to need every one of them, but they should still be able to pull out a 10-6.
Yeah. So based on that, it sounds like you like Pittsburgh this week, kind of picking the home team there, Pittsburgh at home.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of hard to go against the Steelers at home the way they're playing. I mean, even last week was after a 6-game winning streak, they were still in it to the end versus Denver.
I like Pittsburgh at home too, in a big bounce back game. I think Connor has had a couple of off games in a row, and I think they know with Bell not coming back that they need him to be Le'Veon Bell down the stretch, and I think they really they really make a concerted effort to get him going in this one.
Yeah, Connor's not really off. Them too. A lot of times, like I said with the Eagles, they ignore the run for like quarters at a time. Where Connor doesn't even see the ball, and even when they had Bell back there, they get real pass.
Yeah, one day I think they threw like 13 passes or something to start this game. Right? Good point.
They go on stretches like
pass
that.
Happy.
Once in a while, I make one. Thanks, Roger. Once in a while. Don't get spoiled.
So that's a big one. No, don't worry. I'm used to your analysis. So nothing floors me anymore. Your other game of the week. Other game of the week here is Kansas City going into the black hole. Just kidding. That's not the game of the week. Kansas City, I think, is the biggest road favorite of the last 5 or 6 years in the NFL. So that's a bye week for Kansas City. They win that game by at least 20 points.
Yeah, there's some games not even to unless you're a fantasy fucktard. There's some games that have zero interest, like Rams and Lions, and that it's just teams that already clinched their division, and there's not really much to play for except for fantasy points.
Home field's a big deal.
Yeah, sure.
So the Rams at Detroit. I know both the Rams and the Chiefs are on the road, but coming off byes against these two teams, you don't see any chance of a letdown or an upset in either of those games. I certainly don't.
No, I don't see the Lions had a chance to stay in it versus the Bears, but not only that, I mean, we shit on Stafford enough, but the Lions didn't really play with any kind of sense of urgency at all. I made the crack. They played with as much sense of urgency as their coach's physical fitness regime.
Starts at the top, as they say.
Yeah,
just a little slow, little indifferent.
He got him up for that one game versus the Patriots, and that was it. Much like the Jaguars, that was the Lions.
That was the peak.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Speaking of the Patriots, that's one of the watchable games this week. 4:25 Sunday, the Vikings coming to Foxborough, Gillette Stadium, John, where you and I will be visiting over the summer. Pretty excited about that.
I hope the members of the Rolling Stones stay alive. That's a long ways away. So let's.
That's right. Your two favorite football guys are going to Gillette Stadium, and we're not going for a football game. That was John's one condition. He said, "I'll go to Gillette, but the Patriots can't be playing."
Yeah.
But Minnesota, impressive performance against Green Bay. They looked good. Green Bay, McCarthy, I mean, they should just fire him now because we know it's happening. But we'll talk about them in a minute. But Minnesota looked good in this game. The Patriots won that game, but they didn't look great again. I mean, the Jets were not putting up too much of a fight, and that's a game when the Patriots are right, they probably win like 40-13. I think the Patriots will win, but it would not surprise me at all if Minnesota came in and won this game.
I'm going with the Vikings. I think
straight up, all right.
Yeah, Sony Michel is not going to be able to run like he did versus Jets. The Vikings are going to shut down the run and make one of the games where Tom's got to sling it 50 times. And I like the Vikings to score just enough to get the upset.
You can score on the Patriots D, and particularly through the air if you have more than one good receiver, because we only have, Gilmore can only cover one of those guys, right? I think Thielen has a really good game. It's a real bad matchup for the Pats. With that said, Tom Brady at home, even if he's slinging it 50 times, tough to pick against them. I give you credit for the gumption. I think the Pats pull one out.
It's also tough to ride with Cousins in these big games. He's hit or miss. So
a lot of miss, but
yeah, he's got that to overcome. He's had a couple good games which turns out it wasn't a great defense, but the Green Bay game, and then in this game the past week he stepped up. But yeah, it's hard to ride with him in these big games. But if he's going to come through, his weapons will pull him through, I think.
Yeah, good chance. I mean, I think it's a very good game, and we'll see what happens. Would you say your pick's more an indictment on how the Patriots have looked lately? Like, they don't, at least to me, they don't look like a dominant 8-3. They look vulnerable to me, and someone who's watched them for a long time. And this has happened before. This is a good litmus test game for the Patriots. If they come out and beat the piss out of Minnesota, it'll seem like, okay, it's standard Patriots stretch run. If they come out and lose, like you think's going to happen, there could be, they're going to win the division, but I think dreams of getting Tom that next ring are, start to fade away.
Yeah. Also, but my pick was also based on a really high on the Vikings, even though they haven't stepped up in the big games this year. They lost to the Rams and the Saints and the Bears, and also that Buffalo disaster, which turns out it's not as big as an embarrassment because Buffalo's a lot better than people give them credit for. But I still think I really like the Vikings. Their defense, their front four. I like them to shut down the run and keep the Pats one-dimensional. But like I said before, Cousins is hit or miss, so that may derail my pick. But I'm still high on the Vikings for them to at least secure a wild card.
Oh, absolutely. Buffalo is a weird team. They either get the living shit kicked out of them or they win. Like they don't lose close games, right? They either lose 40-0 or they win.
Yeah, they got their coach has done a great job, McDermott. He's really he really boosted his status because the personnel on that team is
weak.
Awful.
Very weak.
Just an offensive line that going to get your quarterback killed, and for him to coax for 4 wins out of that, it's just a great job. I remember at the beginning of the year we were like, okay, well, obviously the Patriots got the division, but who's next? And I said that the Jets are the second best, and I think you and Nick were kind of leaning to the Jets or Miami, and the consensus with all of us at Buffalo was pretty awful. I think you picked them for a 1-15 burger. If you want to, if you want me to rub it in about a bad pick,
that was a bad pick. Was a bad pick.
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to get to a 5 or 6. So.
Second worst point differential in the league, which speaks to what I'm saying. They either get the piss beat out of them or they win. But
But it's a credit to the coach, McDermott, keeps them fighting. They were literally fighting versus Jacksonville. and also Allen looks like if you get some weapons behind him.
He's not super accurate, but he's athletic. I like it. He's got some moxie to him too.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like is I don't think they're going to be able to keep him on the field because he just continues to do these crazy Superman runs, which somebody's going to find a kryptonite and he's going to get knocked out. He's going to be injured a lot. But
he had this game circled on the calendar when due to Jalen Ramsey's fat mouth. So yeah. I was happy the Bills got that win.
Yeah. They stayed in the fight, man. It was a hell of a fight, but it just shows the Bills after Peterman, J.P. Lousman, Manuel, and 10 other bums.
The list goes on and on there.
Yeah, eventually, if you pick a quarterback, you're going to get one right. 1 out of 20. Just like us with our picks. Eventually, we'll get one
That's
right.
That's it, right? Right. The blind squirrel in the nut, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. We have a little sidebar in Buffalo there. So we talked about Vikings, Pats. You had kind of some shitty games this week that we're not talking about. No other real way to say it, right?
49ers and Seahawks. We could go back to last week. That Seattle Carolina game. That's going to be a huge game because
huge win for the Seahawks.
I project both those teams to go out at 10-6, and that'll be a tiebreaker head to head, and that'll get Seattle in if my projections come true, which probably won't happen. But that was a huge game.
Freaking Carolina has no one to blame but themselves for where
but
they
that's
are.
like I said, you're gonna win some and you're gonna lose some. There were two games that they won the Giants and Philly games by miraculously, and they lost this game, the Seattle, and the game last week Detroit. They lost them, by a CH. So 2-2. There's some years where you win all your games like that, and then those teams go on like a fantasy run. But they're about where they're supposed to be. If you play to so close where you don't dominate, that's what happens.
Can you believe how good of a player Christian McCaffrey is for the NFL? I thought he would be. I mean, I liked him in college, but I thought he might be a little too small, gimmicky. I mean, he is a stud, super stud.
I don't want to say it, but there might be a racial bias there.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
He's a little guy.
Yeah, you're a size queen too. I forgot about that. Yeah, but you can't avoid that. I think people underestimated him because of his skin pigmentation. But,
very good player.
So he's phenomenal. But with him and Cam, they should be better than what they are.
Right, and a decent defense. But
yeah,
so you have the Panthers going to Tampa Bay.
More Funchess and Olsen are decent weapons, and with their defense, they should be better than 6-5.
I mean, this is a dangerous game for them this week. Tampa Bay's defense sucks, but their offense is playing good, and they're at home. I mean, I like Carolina, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Tampa beat them in a shootout. Jameis is back.
Yeah, I mean he never should have left. It's gonna be intriguing if they look to deal him, or they're gonna be done with him after the year, or they're gonna stick with him. I think they should stick with him.
It's so tough to find a decent quarterback. He's got a lot of talent. I mean, I love the guy, so I'll be an apologist. But if they let him walk, whatever they bring in to replace him, he's not going to have the ceiling that he does, right? And you see these teams that are in quarterback purgatory, and you can get a long time. He has a chance to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL if he stops acting like an idiot. Right?
Yeah, but on the field, he's just got to clean up the turnovers. That comes with maturity and coaching. But some quarterbacks never get it. But I think it's easy. He's easily fixable, and they shouldn't give up on him.
Completely agree. And San Francisco at Seattle should be an easy win for Seattle. We have Baltimore at Atlanta. We can talk about Lamar Jackson a little bit. Do you think Flacco gets this job back when he's healthy? If they keep winning, definitely not, right?
Yeah, you can't take him out if it keeps rolling. Either way, it's going to be a tough decision for Harbaugh. As a purist,
do you think what he's doing, the way they're running that offense with him running the ball so much, is something that's sustainable, or he's gonna need to learn to stand in the pocket and a little bit more?
Yeah, no way. It's just like a few years ago when there was the read option craze, when Kaepernick and RG3 and who else were tearing it up. That's eventually defenses locked that down. So Lamar Jackson's gonna have to rely on his throwing more as he proceeds further.
Pretty dynamic guy, though.
Oh yeah, and who's the guy? Gus, your boy Gus is
Gus the Bus.
Yeah.
Gus the Bus didn't practice today, but hopefully he's okay.
He's giving them a nice spark. It's ironic. You look at most of the teams in first place are contending. Everybody talks about how it's a passing league and running backs are useless, but teams like Dallas, New Orleans are all at the top of the rushing game.
Yeah, I mean even. Like if you look at the Rams, I could call them St.
Gurley,
Louis,
sure.
The Rams and the Chiefs. I mean, Kareem Hunt is having a huge year, and even look at the Patriots this last week. I mean, the Patriots are a better team when they can run the ball. Right?
Yeah,
These one-dimensional teams tend to It's tough. It's tough to win that way. It's tough to win with no running game.
Especially now we're getting into December. There's especially the teams that play outdoors, like your boys New England, and when you gotta run the ball when you have those weather games are coming up. Or we've been lucky. It looks like Sunday we'll be lucky again. It doesn't look like weather's gonna be a factor anywhere with cold or snow or rain. But in December you need to run the ball if you got an outdoor game.
Oh, absolutely. And then the Falcons at home. You'd think they'd have a chance against Baltimore, but they seems like a lost season for them. I like the Ravens. I'd like Jackson to carve up that Atlanta defense, and the Ravens defense is playing very well.
Yeah, me too. But that's one of those games where either way, you wouldn't be surprised if
right.
Atlanta can still put it all together and beat anybody any given week. They have the talent with Ryan and Julio and the boys, etc. But they just always seem to make the losing play at the wrong time. It's,
in Arizona at Green Bay, it should be a destruction for the Packers. If there's any other result, they should fire McCarthy on the field at the end of the game. So we'll move on there. I mean, if after that performance on Sunday night, where they watch their season go up in smoke, if you don't come out and thump the Cardinals, it's it. End of the road for Mike. And I think we covered everything. Oh, the Jets at Tennessee. That's really the who cares. That's the piss break game of the week, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing redeeming about that game. And then it's just not even the fantasy stuff because the offenses aren't any good.
Yeah, the Titans do have kind of a soft touch the last few games, so they got a shot to get to 9-7 and steal that wild card.
They are shitty. I mean, they are not a good team. It's the coach is still learning his way. Did you watch? I mean, I don't know what they were doing. I mean, they were in that game, and then it all turned. It was 4th and 1 from the 3-yard line. They paid these two running backs. Like, they paid Deion Lewis a bunch of money, and they have Derrick Henry, who's supposed to be a bruiser. And they give the ball they hand off to the tight end, to the third-string tight end, Luke Stalker. He gets stuffed. Then literally the next play, Lamar Miller takes it 97 yards.
Yeah.
Game over. And then, I don't know what Vrabel was doing. I mean, they're down 17 in the fourth quarter with about 7 minutes left. 4th and 5 from their own 30. I mean, you got to go for that. It's just complete white flag. The offense is unexciting. I mean, Mariota, I like Mariota, but it's, is he ever going to be anything more than?
Yeah, you like him. I don't. He seems like it seems like he put it together, and but for a guy that was picked the way he was, he needs to be more than a game manager. He needs to be a franchise QB, and I don't see it in him. He's too up and down.
And that mustache, put that back in the bag. Jesus Christ!
I don't judge another man's look.
I was watching a '70s porn movie.
I don't judge another man's looks. I don't know.
All right, Johnny. So Thursday night, Cowboys. I think this episode will post either very late Wednesday or very early Thursday because your co-host, the Cowboy here, has to go play some basketball right now.
Yeah. Full court. I wish I was playing with you.
No, it's going to be a good time. I'm lucky.
That's good.
I count my lucky stars every time I walk off that court in one piece. So, especially after playing football over the weekend. I played football on Sunday, and I am still sore from that. And we're still going to go out and play basketball. That's it. You only live once. But great as always, my friend. Big game tomorrow night. I can't wait for Thursday. I can't wait for Thursday night football this week. We'll see if our prognostication comes true. Probably not, but let's hope the Cowboys at least make it a game.
Yeah, at least want to see some good games this week. Monday night Eagles, Washington, blah blah. The Chargers, Steelers. The marquee games really don't do much for me, but we'll see.
Vikings, Pats should be a good game.
Yeah, that's good. We get that at 4:00 in New York. That's good.
Perfect. Well, all right, everybody. thanks for tuning in again. We love having you. Please direct any questions to either one of us. We personally reply to all inquiries. And so, for John, I'm the Cowboy. Enjoy Week 13, guys.
Thanks. Peace, guys. All right, Cowboy.
I think we're gonna have the all right Cowboy.
Yeah, that's all.